Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite games ever. It's one of the only games I can think of where I prefer the story over the gameplay. The atmosphere, the music, the monster designs, the surreal dreamlike Studio Ghibli world, the way it deals with controversial subjects such as rape and cheating and death. It's truly a full piece of art from an early generation of video games. The game isn't perfect, the voice acting isn't the best, and the story can get into that territory where the creator could just say, "Oh, I don't know what the story means. You have to figure it out." Yes, it is that FNAF kind of thing where it's left ambiguous and you have a good idea of what the story is, but you're never too sure. But Silent Hill 2 is special. It is truly one of the greatest psychological horror games of all time, and even as a 21-year-old woman, there are still certain scenes and ideas that still creep me out in the game to this day. The scene where Pyramid Head stabs Maria with a spear as a soundtrack betrayal plays as James Sunderland drops to his knees realizing what Pyramid Head means. God, it's good. Silent Hill 2 isn't special because it deals with controversial topics, it's how it deals with these topics. It's not some action-packed game like Resident Evil, it's not some overly jump-scary game, it's a game about depression, guilt, death, and it's not afraid to censor itself. And I personally feel a lot of charm and love from the old art style of PS2, graphics and gameplay style really adds to the feeling of helplessness. Yes, the original game controls are janky, but it's that way for a reason to make you feel vulnerable. Killing enemies is hard, ammo is scarce, you have limited health, and everything wants to kill you. Silent Hill 2 is great, but the game holds something more deeper to me that makes me hate this remake more than anything. I originally played Silent Hill 2 back in 2008, but I didn't really get into the game as much as I did until 2014. Silent Hill 2 made me feel the depression I was feeling all the way until my middle and high school years. In 2008, I loved Silent Hill, but I fell in love with it as an early teenager. The game feels so lonely, so depressing, but a light hint of hope. The hope to get out. The hope to find out the mystery. The hope that James can come to terms with his crimes of killing his wife. Every single moment of Silent Hill 2 is there to perfectly encapture an emotion and tension. The game is actually creepy and disturbing with so many moments that leave an impact on you. The camera bounces back from third to first person for emotional scenes. The colors are dreary and gray with foggy and snowy scenes. The music is loud and mechanical. Every character is important to James's character development that shows the worst and the best of humanity. I could go on all day. My point with all this is to say that this game is filled with passion, and a game that was trying to tell something about the darkness of humans and the psychological strain of the human mind. How much we can push down our problems and our trauma, but that trauma sticks with us, it's a part of us. Silent Hill is a representation of mental health hell. It's a purgatory for people who feel guilt and shame. It's a great piece of art that shaped and defined horror games for a generation to come. And with that out of the way, let's talk about the shitty remake that throws everything I said out the window. The Silent Hill 2 remake is one of the most embarrassing things I have ever seen. And for people to say it's a masterpiece and better than the original generally offends me. I honestly don't understand the love and appreciation this remake gets. The characters are ugly, the color palette is nowhere near as good as the original. The voice acting is worse than the original, which is a pretty decent accomplishment to make. The characters are butchered, they censor stuff that didn't need to be censored for the normie audience. The gameplay is just The Last of Us, or what I call the Sony effect. The same basic-ass melee and gun shooting mechanics. I like The Last of Us a lot, but what's done to the gaming industry fucked everything over. So why do I hate this obvious cash grab that totally runs all over the original? Well, the cherry fuckboy writers totally made this remake misunderstanding the original entirely. I tried my hardest to look at this as an original work that just shared a Silent Hill skin, but it's hard to do when the whole game tries to pay lip service to the original, and while you might think it's weird to think of a remake in that way, but you have to understand where I come from. With all the horrible remakes that have been coming out, with Resident Evil 4 being the most competent, I had no reason to be hyped for or even buy the Silent Hill 2 remake. It begs the question why these people didn't just make something new. If it wasn't for the fact that Silent Hill 2 is a beloved classic property that everyone loves, that even if the remake sucks, it doesn't matter, because the dumbass fake fans will buy the games anyway, and praise it. If the remake was my first exposure to the franchise, I doubt I would have even cared or bothered to even look into the franchise. It looks like any other modern AAA game with the ugliest character designs, making me want to claw my eyes out. The only thing that's worth noting is the soundtrack, but that means nothing when it's just Akira Yamaoka's music and he always makes masterpiece OSTs. This remake completely misunderstands the original themes. Say it with me. With every single frame, image, and scene exists in Silent Hill 2 to convey a message or emotion. Pyramid Head represents James Sunderland's guilt. Maria is supposed to feed off James' lust. The monsters represent women because James is a coomer. The pistons in the walls symbolize the abuse Angela suffered from. The tank controls are there to make the game scarier. The radio is hinting at what James did to his wife. Yada 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 yada. People who are actually fans of the original have been analyzing this shit for years, but the people behind the remake felt the need to muddle it down. Why? The reason people love the original is because they took so many risks, and talking about deep topics no other game explored deeply before. Instead of Pyramid Head's introduction of him graping a monster, his introduction in the remake is just him dragging a monster with lifeless camera movements. They replaced Eddie and James' scene with the movie theater instead of the bowling alley for literally no reason at all. They censored Maria's outfit and removed the scene of James looking at her ass because it's not okay for men to look at women, even though that's important to his character. As soon as I saw Eddie being a psychopath and Fleshlight turning to a spider table as a boss, I wanted to off myself. I'm not going to go into the political meanings, but the fact that they uglified everyone isn't a coincidence. They even uglified Maria, even though the point of her character is that she's a beautiful, slutty woman that represents the Coomer mind of James Sunderland. She looks like a man, and Angela, like, what the fuck am I looking at? And you could call me a misandrist or a bad person, but why would they change these things? There's no purpose to it. I mean, I know the purpose, but these dumbass fans who don't even understand the original, like, was it so important to remove the pistons and replace the walls with just flesh, completely removing the symbolism of Angela's story? Why in the fuck did they change Pyramid Head's chase with a generic ramming through the wall? Did these green-haired, dress-wearing donuts get the memo? They changed the ending letter for some reason. They made Eddie fatter. The jail scene is less emotional and creepy. I give up. If this was just some generic third-person shooter, I wouldn't care. But the fact that they are writing on the Silent Hill 2 name and devolving this franchise more than it already has hurts my soul. But if you think Silent Hill is just a weird, creepy, haunted house game, I recommend watching the Game and Brit shows about Silent Hill 2, and his video talks about the game's themes, and then play the game again, to understand even more why this remake is bad. Again, I beg the question, why not just make something new? The fact that no one aside from Akira that worked on the original worked for the remake shows that no one working on this remake knew anything about the themes or the writing of the first game. And I don't want to hear in the comments how this remake is justified because of the tank controls. You could easily release the first game and just give the option to change the controls. The graphics shouldn't be a problem because, one, who gives a shit about graphics, and two, again, just release the game with updated graphics, because re-releases are, and has always been popular. I really don't know where else to take this, man. It's just depressing and infuriating all at the same time. I hate this. I hate how many favorite games that, you know, I love for over the years are just being remade into shit, and people keep praising and eating it up. You know, they turned Isaac Clarke and Adam Sandler in the Dead Space remake, they turned Maria into a man. You know, at least the Final Fantasy characters look fine in these remakes. I just hate these remakes, man. Stop supporting them. They suck. And just play the original games on emulator. If you enjoyed this video, thanks for making it this far. I am AnnaWaifu, and I will see y'all in the next one.